I'm Lyndsay from the Bodyweight Project, and I'm super excited to be back at Egoscue in Denver. We're going to be taking a look at what Anu can do for my posture asymmetries that we found in the last YouTube video. So if you haven't seen the previous video, he did some evaluation of my body and my asymmetries and the way that I hold my hips and my shoulders, and now we're gonna fix it.
You see somebody running down the street, it's like, oh my god, look at their knee. Yeah. Oh, you know.
Oh, that happens to me all the time.
Right?
Walking behind people on the stairs, I'm like, oh, that's a lot of valgus stress.
Yeah. You can't unsee it, right?
That's true.
So that's a slant board, as we talked about. One of the, and we talked about this earlier, one of the principles for us is if this is not replicable everywhere all the time, then we didn't help you that much, right? So most of our stuff, and you can see it in the studio, it's really simple. It's like blocks that you could use chairs or couches for, little pillows that you could use a yoga block or a rolled up towel. On an airplane, I put my fist between my knees sometimes. Straps that are just simple $10 yoga straps. So all this stuff is very replicable anywhere. So if you're traveling, if you're staying at a friend's house, camping, whatever it might be, all those places you could still do your stuff. A slant board, all that being said, can be replicated by using yoga blocks, which I can show you in a minute. And these are widely available. You can get these on Amazon and stuff like that. You're pretty flexible, so I'm going to see about starting you a little bit higher.
Oh boy.
If this feels like too much, we'll just come down.
Am I standing on that?
You're going to stand on it with your back to the wall.
Okay.
And here's the key detail. I only want you at about 80% of your flexibility. Like if you feel like your body has to fight that, then we want you to come down some. Okay. Ideally, your heels will be touching the wall. If that feels comfortable, like a good stretch but not a torture, then you can just chill. And if not, then we'll come down some. Okay. Most people, and Lindsay's feet are actually pretty good for this, but most people's feet really don't have any straight edges like this. So usually we go by that second toe sitting pretty straight. A sock is a good example because Ashley and I both have these socks with the lines on the front. These lines being fairly parallel is another measure that we can use. But how does this feel to stand there?
I feel like the weight of my body is a little bit more forward. I don't feel like I'm sitting back the way that I usually do.
Yeah. So one of the principles at play here is what we call closed chain exercise, right? So using the wall and the slant board, don't give your body anywhere to wiggle out of this. It just kind of puts you in position. And realistically, if I had you stand in the middle of the room and do, like a lunge or something, there's no way you can control for those kind of asymmetries your body naturally has. So using walls and floors, which we do a lot of, kind of helps correct naturally. I'm going to have you do another exercise just to be efficient with time. So we're going to do an open palm fist, curl the knuckles like this, and we're going to bring them to your temples. And then what you want to do, the reason we got you locking out your hands like that is to keep your wrists locked. And then we're just going to have you bring your elbows towards touching and then towards the wall.
Okay.
Yep.
And I want to keep my back against the wall still?
Yeah, you're not, like there's
not
no
forcing it, but
force it. Yeah, it's just kind of natural.
I also don't want to fall over. Okay.
I will catch you.
Okay.
Good. Now, here we have a very functional person. But that's hard.
Maybe.
Well, you're functional in lots of ways.
How functional am I really?
What we want.
To be able to go. Yeah.
And so what just happened? You caught it.
Yeah.
She's definitely ahead of the average bear, where most people just poke themselves in the eyes and have no idea. Yeah.
Okay.
So you're gonna get there.
Okay.
We want to get those elbows
to touch. You want me to keep going? Okay.
Until we can put symbols between your elbows and send you out on 16th Street Mall for tips.
Yes.
Posture jokes, man. So looks pretty simple.
Yeah.
Feel free to try it at home.
Yeah.
But we have a pretty athletic person. That's still pretty hard to do, right? And this is not that I'm more athletic. I assure you I'm much less athletic. However, I've just practiced this, so much like your handstands that you do regularly so you can do them well.
Yeah.
My range of motion in my shoulder blades, there it is.
Oh,
got it.
So I was keeping my elbows elevate. I was keeping my shoulders at 90.
And it's more ideal to have them up.
You do want your shoulders at 90.
But we can always start somewhere and work our way up. Right?
Gotcha. Okay, well I can go lower. Well,
she's like, I got that. Good. See, she's honest. Try to keep those knuckles just hinging on your temples. And then touching the wall. Yeah. So let's come down.
Okay.
You want to do a handstand out of it? I got you. So if we stand you sideways in this mirror, we just want to see what outcome did we get. Are you stacked more vertically than just a few minutes ago when we took your pictures?
So I just want to stand.
Natural.
Yeah. Ooh.
What do you feel?
Okay, I don't want to not hyperextend my knees because I know that that's what I'm going to do as soon as I walk out of here. But I don't feel quite so much like I want to go, wow! Wow.
5 minutes. Most people come in here going, yeah, right, 5 minutes, right? But when we go in the gym and we do a bicep curl, we don't doubt that it's going to be swole right afterwards, and we're all going to look in the mirror like, yeah. And then 2 hours later, it's like, where did that go, right? But we know if we do that really consistently, that becomes the natural state of that muscle. Same with your head position. You get your shoulders more free regularly, your head starts to sit back. You can't be as rotated because you're being reminded of what a vertical plane looks like, right? You're just going to check your hip height, because sometimes, just by changing some of the femur position, this can change some of the hip height. Okay? So we're feeling for whether these are more level, and they are. And we can turn you around so you can see this too, but they're closer to level than they were before. It's not completely gone, but it's improved, and you turn around, face yourself so you can see that. So yeah, and again, doing it like this, you'll just get a much better visual.
Right.
And you see that?
Yeah.
Closer to level.
Wow.
Right?
Okay, pause. So for people at home who are like, really? Just some calf stretching? Really? That wasn't what we just did.
Correct.
We did a lot more than just calf stretching, so can you explain that?
Sure, absolutely. Good question. So yes, we stretch your calves, but as we alluded to with this, anatomy trains thing, the whole thing's a connected unit, right? So the best way I could say it is normally when you're walking, what's the more fixed point is your pelvis, and your legs are what swing, right? We just made your legs be the fixed point, and then your pelvis had to adjust to that, right? Okay. And you're being, like, if that slant board didn't have a wall behind it, you'd have to lean forward to not fall off of it. Right. By having the wall, we're teaching your body to trust itself back into a much more vertical plane of gravity. So we're changing the relationship in the hip socket itself. And I'll guarantee you, and I can already see it creeping in, just a few minutes later, your body's going to go back to what it's used to. Right. So, no false advertising. It's not like, oh, I did that once, I'm cool. No, this becomes a daily practice. A step stool or yoga blocks work really well in a pinch, like if I'm traveling, right? So what I could do is I come close enough to where the balls of my feet are on the edge and my heels are on the wall. And then I can just stand up there and drop into that and kind of create the same thing. Some people are so tight, like if this is, somebody at home wants to try this and they're super tight, you can just roll up a thick towel. Yeah. We have people who it's so tight, they just stand at the wall and like we start trying to get things under their toes because that's just where their functionality is. Cool. Yeah. So I'm gonna have you kneel actually. Okay. Reason being, we can do this standing, we can do this seated, but we're after, and both knees please. Oh, okay. We're after dynamic tension, which is that balance front to back of the body. And what we saw for you was that the body was too far forward, right? So when we do a kneeling exercise, when we do it properly, everything, if you had a stripe, the stripe would go straight up from the center of the knee to the center of the hip, right? And we're trying to just get your body to stack itself vertically. So we're gonna hold this position, and I will correct you if you start to like bow forward or backward. But what we really want is just that hip stays perfectly vertically stacked and doesn't go here and doesn't go here. It's just, and what I want you to do is pinch your shoulder blades as though you're kind of holding a little grate back there, okay? And it's a down and away, you did that pretty well, because we don't want your traps super tense. A lot of people I see this, or I ask them to retract their traps or scaps, and you didn't do this, but you'll see a lot of arching of the back. Right, sticking. We're trying to get the one muscle group to do its own job, right? Okay. And then I want you to bring your arms out to the sides. We're going to do that same kind of golfer grip deal that we did before. Yep. And then palms down, thumbs forward, holding the pinch of the grape the whole time. You're going to do about a dinner plate size, kind of fast. So we want to give it some speed. Okay. Because intentionally, you see how it's kind of making your body wobble? Yeah. That's your body learning to hold itself vertical. Okay. So this is called an arm circle in a kneeling position. Okay. And what we're after is strengthening the retraction of the shoulder blades in basically an isometric fashion. They're just holding. Yeah. And then the resistance of the spinning of the arms would make most people want to round their shoulders forward. Right. But we're trying to imagine that dinner plate is basically straight out from your shoulder. You did pretty well with that. A lot of people will start to round as they go. That makes sense. The second half, we're going to turn the palms up. Okay. Same pinch of the shoulder blades, overhanded backwards now. We don't ever want to feel like our neck is getting really tense from this. Right, we don't want to be up here. Yeah, and if somebody were doing that, I'd have them drop their arms a little bit if necessary. We're going to do 800 more. If you bring this left arm out for me in the same spot, what I saw was it starts to want to rotate forward like this, and we're really working after that external rotation because a lot of us, yours is not too bad, but a lot of us tend to start to round inward and forward. We don't want those like gorilla knuckle things going on, right? In a perfect world, the posture will look like this, where the hands are just, you'll see the thumb and the first finger, not this business. If you've got this going on, so your leg alignment, if you look at her from the side, Ashton, it's just more vertically stacked. And again, if you check yourself out in the mirror, you are more vertically absolutely stacked.
Yeah.
For sure. So just for the thought process, I went after what I thought were more of the compensation things.
Right.
And now we're going to get a little deeper into the dysfunction stuff too.
Okay.
But already it's created change, right? So it's the same idea as like, you wouldn't want to cook in a dirty kitchen, so you like clean everything so you have a nice space to cook on.
Yeah.
We take away the compensations first, and then we can get to those deeper dysfunctions.
You just called my body a dirty kitchen. I just want to make sure everyone
Whoa.
heard that.
Whoa. So what we're going to do is have Lyndsay lie on her back.
Okay.
This first one, we're going to have you put your feet on the wall, so I need you to do a little, yep.
Turn around.
And then what we want is like an inverted seated position. So basically, you're going to be shins horizontal, thighs vertical. So we want feet about hips width apart. The way I like to say that is if you put the balls of your toes together, do a quarter turn of your toes and a quarter turn of your heels, that'll pretty much put you where you want to be. You want to demo that. So just touch, yep, quarter turn your toes, quarter turn your heels. It's about where we want to be, about a fist. And see that little adjustment you made out there? That's the thing I wouldn't do. It'll feel almost pigeon-toed to people. But again, that second toe running through the center of the ankle, center of the knee, center of the hip is what we're really after. And then what we're going to do is we're going to cross one ankle to the opposite knee. Either one is fine. Yep. So you're going to put that lateral malleolus kind of in the meat of the thigh.
Okay.
And then you're going to actively push this knee out just using your glute. Right? So this is a stretch a lot of people have seen in various capacities, but here we are again with much more closed chain. So all you're really trying to do, Lyndsay, is just push your knee away and stretch your right hip basically.
Okay.
Without tensing other stuff in your body. So most of the stuff we do, not all, but is like longer holds to teach the body to hold those positions better. So that's our holdings for a minute. You got about 20 more seconds. Doing all right?
My hip is going to cramp.
So we're going to do one other one. So same kind of crossover idea, but we're going to do a different motion here. So cross that first leg. We're trying to make an even edge with the outside of the leg and the sole of the foot. The arms are going to come out to the sides with the palms down. And that's for your like connective tissue through here, so you're going to get a little more stretch by having your palms down actually. Just make sure you stay out of your traps. Okay. And then you're going to twist over to this side, assuming that feels okay to you, to let it hit the ground. Good. And then we're going to push actively, again using the glute. You're just going to hold it right there.
Oh.
But pushing the knee out. Yeah, there you go. So,
oh, not with my heel. I'm pushing with my knee.
with your hip.
Right.
Yep.
Pushing my knee. Gotcha.
Correct. Yep. So you should get like a glute stretch, lower back stretch, something like that. You can roll your head opposite your twist, and then breathe really deep. So when we twist like this, what happens is we get kind of a constriction in the front of the body, but then it opens up more breathing back into here, right? So really where my finger's at, that's where you want to put breath. So this is just a range of motion thing that I think if you did it consistently, this would free up a little bit for you. And maybe this is not even enough. You tell me.
That's great.
Feel good?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is actually a great example of where a modification is important so that you were aware of it. You don't want to, cash that check with your back. You want to make it happen with your hips. So we're going to do some cats and dogs that we did before. Anytime we do rotations, typically we like to finish with something that's sort of neutralizing like this.
Okay.
And you just did these, so I want you to tell me if that feels any different. How's that middle back?
Middle back, that's kind of the weird thing is like I literally never feel it and I have no control over it, so I don't know what it's doing unless I'm looking at it. I mean, that was kind of unusual actually in that position that we were just doing, that I would even feel something in that spot, because it's just like, I just feel like it's a brick wall.
So I want to check your hips one more time and just see if we're where we want to be. We'll get you to walk one more time. So this is sort of just reassessing where we at after the stuff we did. Awesome. Rotation almost gone. There's still a tiny bit. Let's turn you sideways. I want to see you walk too, because I want to see if you feel that rotation any differently. Okay. So this tilt is definitely better. You had a lot more anterior tilt before. Right. Let's look at the other side. And this one was more natural, but I just want to kind of, So they just look closer to each other, which is really what I'm after. Let's have you just walk a couple times and you can tell us how that rotation in your left hip is feeling. So, if we, that's what the bell's for, by the way. It's a pig with wings. You can ring that. Stop rotating. So, here's the really important, takeaway from this. Let's just say you were a runner, and now, or a hiker, which I know is not your favorite thing. And then you're going to put all those miles in your hips. And you called it accessory motion, which is a great way to say it. It's just excess motion. It's more than we need. And so if I'm walking and I'm striding naturally, I'm just flexing and extending with very little lateral sway. I can do this, you can see it, right? I should have very little of this, very little of this. It should just be flex, extend there, extend there, right? And so that's what you're kind of wowing about, is that you're just getting a more natural gait. And in a perfect world, She's going to do this every day
Yeah.
for the rest of her life.
I'm a very compliant patient.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And we call them clients, not patients.
Oh, yeah.
Because you ain't sick.
Right, I'm not.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how we think about it. So that was everything.
Okay.
I want to just quickly get your pictures again because I would like
Okay.
to get the before and after. So we'll just have you stand right where you are. Now you're doing handstands?
Sure, yeah.
That's pretty different from the first one.
Yeah, that's pretty different. Wow. So somebody asked me on Instagram to ask you, the posture expert, about what your opinion is on the wearable technology for posture.
So like the straps you put on or the little
straps?
beepers that
Yep.
remind you if you're not sitting up straight.
Yeah.
So we're not giving those guys my address, right?
Right.
Just kidding.
Oh, good. Yeah, give us
No.
the dirt.
In all seriousness, I think a comparison is the most appropriate thing. So you could think about if you broke your leg, you have a cast for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the long-term solution? No, you want to get out of the cast and off the crutches and back to what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Is an insole an actual fix for your body, or is it a short-term Band-Aid?
Mm-hmm.
That ideally your body has better function, and you get where I'm going, right?
Mm-hmm.
So having a little thing beep at me to sit up straight, much like we just talked about when you sat on that block, if you can't properly get your hips to function, you're going to sit up with your back anyway. So you're going to fake it, right?
Yeah.
And one might argue on the kind of rougher end of this that having your shoulders held back doesn't actually make them stronger in that position. It almost makes them weaker because they're just being held like that. So to me, the only lasting solution is to earn it, and that's so true in so much of life that it may short-term create some great outcomes. And I know a lot of clients and friends and myself even who have used insoles at various points, but it didn't fix my problem long-term. It might have made my foot hurt less for a short time. Really the answer is doing the work. And so that's what this really is a long-term practice that gets at the root causes.
Right.
And you saw that today. If we didn't address your hips, could your back have really been in the best position it could have been? And so a little beeper or a little strap or something like that, it may help in the short term, and it's
Right.
certainly the easy answer. But I think for the wise person who sees this to be true in so much of the rest of life, doing the work, there's really no substitute.
So, on that note, what are the things that you could offer people that they can do throughout their workday? Because a lot of postural deficits come from
Absolutely.
the desk jockey position.
Absolutely. So a few things, just from what we did today, and I was actually mentioning this to Ashton because he gets the desk jockey too, right? The elbow curls that you did, the arm
Yeah.
circles that you did, if they don't hurt, that's the asterisk because I don't get to see the people all watching this. If it hurts, don't do it. Give us a call, something like that. But things that will move your shoulders like that can be helpful. The luxury we have is we get to work on you one-on-one and particularly adapt this to what you need. So to my previous example, if the person can't sit up straight, well then throwing them into these may not be as beneficial, right? Sitting's a sport too, and you got to train for it.
Yeah.
And if you're going to be sitting 40 hours a week, that's your sport. That many of us drive to and from work and come home and sit on the couch, unfortunately. So it's more like 60 or more hours a week that we're sitting. The joke is that sitting's the new smoking.
Right.
Right?
Not really much of a joke.
Yeah. And so you gotta take into account that it's more than just doing 5 minutes of something.
Right.
Like it has to become that person that I'm talking about. They need their hips worked on. There's other stuff.
You gotta train
But
for
certainly, just sciatic contractions, elbow curls we did with you, arm circles is a great place to start. Those books are a great place to start, and obviously, what we recommend is coming in here and getting a particularly personal set of things to do.
Right.
And I mentioned to you, we can work on Skype. So
Yeah, I was just about to mention that. So
we
you don't have to come to Denver to
right.
see this guy,
Or
you guys.
Boulder.
Yeah. Or Boulder, right, yeah.
And we have clinics in 30 cities around the country and in Mexico and Japan. But for the person who's in Omaha, Nebraska, where there isn't a clinic or wherever, we can still help you from Skype, FaceTime, whatever kind of. We Zoomed the other day, right?
Well, thank you so much for your
my
time.
pleasure, my pleasure.
Oh my gosh, this has been great. I feel great. I feel like I have to work to like slouch into this.
That's the point.
Slouch into this, and I know it's going to help with the handstand training and all of the body weight fitness stuff that we do. So, yeah, thank you so much.
Oh, my pleasure.
All right. Yeah.